Ladies and gentlemen, welcome yet again to 2D6 Friday. Bum bum bum. Help Andy win a game edition. That's right, folks. 2D6 Friday yet again. And once again, I'm joined by the man of the hour, the coach. How's it going?
Everything is great. How are you?
I am pretty damn good, but also apprehensive because, as the title of the video suggests, we are on the eve of my first Deadzone tournament. Bum bum bum. So, as the WGC Deadzone head honcho, as it were, I thought it was only right to get you back in to give me some last-minute advice and tips on using my plague to their maximum effect in my first ever tournament. And just general tournament advice and chit-chat as well. Mm-hmm. So, first of all, we've got a packed house in the audience, as always. A few people chatting away in there. You can see some familiar names and some new ones as well. We've got the likes of AW Kitchen, Sam Rylett, who apparently this is the first time he's watching a show of mine live. YouTube Newbie, of course. Retropia TV, who, as a result of a previous episode, went out and bought all the Forge Father sets. So we're having an impact on the world here. The Wargamer Viking in there.
Oh, no.
Boom. Darkbeard 89. So there's a bit of a beard theme going on here. We've got Roanti, Melt, Graffelman, Santiago, Horse, Frail. I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation on that. So if anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in there and we'll refer to them periodically. So...
Oh, Andy, you should feel honored because we have a bunch of the rules committee guys. Roanti is on the Deadzone rules committee.
Oh, is he? Well, yes. I'm going to be looking for some very valuable insight in those comments then.
Yeah, Tim is a good guy, man. He's going to help us out.
Right then. So, of course, the purpose of the last episode that we did together was to educate the world, not just me, on the ins and outs of Deadzone and all the various factions. But the purpose of this episode, of course, is to just help me win a game. Because I've had a few so far and I've lost all of them. So I've only had one with Plague, though, which was also a loss. And it wasn't actually that close. So I think I need some tips. So first things first, I'm going to show the world. First of all, I'll just show off my models in case anyone hasn't seen them yet. These are the models I'm going to be taking with me. Now, you did point out last time when I was looking at these that the old Dr. Simon's model is terrible in the rules. So that's why I'm not going to be using it as that at all. I'm just going to be using it as a regular stage 3. There's the specialist with the HMG there. And to get this up to a cool 200 points, which is the requirement for this tournament, I'm borrowing an aberration from somebody. The reason for that choice is that I wanted to borrow as few models as possible, and it's very expensive in points. So that just made perfect sense to me. I want to be using pretty much all my own models and then just one extra one thrown in there. So let's go on to the actual list here. And you can see, of course, that I've got the stage 1 as the leader. A couple of hellhounds who will probably get killed immediately. There's the aberration there. Specialist with the HMG, which I found out doesn't add any victory points onto the model, which is nice when you're adding any weapons in. 3 stage 2s. Now I'm hoping I'm going to have more luck with them because last time I used them, the only time I've used them so far, all 3 of them were killed in one hit by pretty much regular firepower. It was just really, really bad rolling, I think, because you don't expect them to just go down to regular rifles and such, do you?
Right.
Then we've got 5 stage 3s, just regular guys. So I haven't taken a lot of upgrades because I'm still getting to grips with the rules and I don't want to overload myself. I think it's going to be a struggle to actually finish any of my games anyway. I think it's about an hour and 10 minutes we have. We're expected to get 5 or 6 games in, I believe. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to finish any of them with my current grasp of the rules. I definitely wouldn't be able to if I had any upgrades in there. So first thoughts, before we actually go into how I'm going to win, as a list, how terrible is this?
It's not bad. Well, we're gonna try to figure out the list with what you have, and just like you said, the aberration. So all in all, it's not a bad list. My one thing is, I think a few more, the 3A specialists, you only have one, correct, with the HMG?
Yes.
I would suggest maybe 2 or 3 of them. You know, I go with the adage, if you like something, take 2 of them, and if you really like it, take 3 of them. Because what I really like about the specialist, even though with a 5-up shoot, by taking the HMG, you're looking at 14 points, but he's giving you a way to fire 1, which gives you, a reroll of 1 missed, failed shooting dice, and then suppression, which is no matter what happens, you're going to suppress that cube. So with those guys, if you're going after something really big or something that you're not going to kill, maybe you can suppress them, and they got to waste their first short action. The next turn, they have to stand up, which is a short action. So you might not be killing them, but you're going to annoy them to the point where you're going to almost shave off a short action on them. That's the beauty of suppression.
Right. Now, I didn't really get a chance to do much with him in the one game I've used him in so far. I think he was another one that got killed immediately in one hit. But the only other model that I actually own is a specialist with a grenade launcher, but I haven't got it painted yet. So that should show up in the future. But for now, this is all I'm working with.
Right.
So I didn't have a huge amount of options here.
Well, the guy on... I'm sorry, and the guy all the way to your left, right? Yeah, that guy, he's also a specialist too. He's an HMG specialist because of the bigger weapon. So you can, you want to go WYSIWYG, that's a HMG specialist right there with the bigger rifle. And then the 2 guys to the right are just the regular troopers. So you wouldn't be without WYSIWYG right there.
Yeah, that's another thing to consider for the future then. Using him as the HMG, and then these 3 as regular, and then she's just going to be the regular stage 3 as well.
That's fine.
So I'm counting on the dogs big time, I think, because looking at the speed of this list, the things that I want to actually fight, in melee, the dogs are the only ones that can actually get there at any decent speed. So maybe using them to annoy people until everyone else can get there very, very slowly. Because if I'm relying on a stage 1, just chasing people around the table with its speed 1, that's not going to be a good time. That's what I actually ended up with in the only game I've played with them. I think he was the only model left. And then, of course, the enemy can just back away from him because they can all move faster than he can.
Right.
So that was a bit of a nightmare. And the aberration isn't exactly lightning.
Right. Well, you're going to have to, with the aberration, the thing about the aberration, he either is the MVP or he is dies quickly because he's a size 4, so it's really hard to hide him. Big model. He's got really good stats. A 3-up fight, 4-up survive, AP2 knockback. That's great because you can now with the rules for knockback. Committee. And what I like about knockback is because he has a 3-up fight, it goes by potential damage. So you have to win the dice roll. So if you win by 1 and let's say it doesn't go through the arm or whatever, you're knocking him back. But because of the knockback rule and you're in charge of, your guy with knockback, you can pick where to throw him. So instead of throwing him out of a cube, you can actually throw him into a wall, or if you want to throw him off the building or something like that. So that's really, really a good rule to have, and it's a good one to be in charge of.
As far as hiding models, the one thing that is going to be quite important for me, I think, is that all the boards have quite a bit of terrain on them and that they're not bare, because I need to get this stuff forward. I don't want to get stuck in firefights against people that have vastly superior weaponry.
Right.
So I'm hoping that there's going to be lots of view obstructing terrain and maybe a lot of objectives hidden in spots that you can sit on without being immediately gunned down from all sides. So I think that's going to be quite important as well.
Well, a nice little dirty trick that's part of the rules is you can move up into a square, and then you could put some of at least half the model like on the line that's going into another square. if you can do that, and like say you have your stage 2s with their arms out, you can kind of like put half, like just his hand around the corner. So let's say you're getting shot from the side and the guy is going to say, I want to get +2 because I see the whole model. And you say, well, I'm sorry, but my leg or my arm or my tail or my gun is around the corner and you don't see the whole model. Therefore, you don't get the +2. So even though he's out in the open, you can kind of have a semblance of cover just by doing that.
It is a bit of a trade-off, isn't it? Because obviously if I were to just green stuff an extra long finger onto one of my stage 2s, then of course it would mean he'd get shot more often if his finger stretches across half the table, but it'd also be very difficult to see the entire model, which is one of the things that got them killed, I think. At least one of them was completely visible because someone managed to get onto higher ground and look down. And of course, from higher ground, it's quite easy to see the entire model, especially compared to looking up, because it's difficult to see someone's feet unless they just position themselves really, really badly.
Right. The main thing with Deadzone is utilize your terrain, utilize your cover, even if it's advantageous. Like I'm going to sprint up 3. I want to get my hellhounds up at 3. It might even be better for you to sprint, get there by 2, keep them hiding or keep them in cover so that the next round you might be able to get up and be able to sprint into combat, because obviously the hellhounds or the 2As, they don't shoot, so you want to obviously get them into combat. The only thing is, if they get shot to hell before you get there, they're absolutely useless, and that's what you don't want.
Can you see any benefit to hanging back at all with any elements of this list?
You only have, you have 5 stage 3s and the 3A specialists. So that's 6 guys that shoot. Those guys might be able to hang back, and you'll have like backboard control where you might be able to pepper them with fire or keep the heads down or whatever. The shooting though, 5 up is average. With an 8-sided dice, we look at that as the average. That's why I really like the HMG, because even if you miss, the guy's putting his head down. And
even if you miss, of course he's going to miss.
Yeah, well, no, well, on a 5 up, I got to tell you, we've been playing a few games with the specialist, because it seems like when we kit out the plague, it's hellhounds or zombies, and then the specialists, you take 2 or 3 HMG guys, and even though they're missing, but with weight of fire 1, you're always re-rolling one of them. So on a 5, if you miss all of them, chances are you re-roll it, you're hopefully going to hit it, on as far as probability wise. But the fact of the matter is, even if you miss every one and you suppress that cube, you're in good shape, especially at the beginning of the game when guys are deploying in a zone. They have 2 or 3 or 4 models in one cube, and you want to suppress that cube. They have to waste a short action to get up. That's like, that's the hidden gem in this. That's why the specialist, and it's only 14 points, 1 victory point. You can't go wrong with that guy.
If my dice rolling habits in Deadzone continue, then I don't think any of this is really going to matter, because it's a guarantee that I'm just going to get annihilated in every single game. Right. So we shall see.
I wish I can send you some loaded dice, but I don't think that would be ethical. And
I do have some wonderful orange D8s now.
Well,
I've used them in one game. I've used them in one game, and they didn't do amazingly, but maybe they were just like getting out their system.
Sometimes you have to break them in. They got to, the rookies. Now they're veterans when they come back next time.
Yeah, and they're going to have probably 6 games to sink their teeth into tomorrow.
Right.
So hopefully they'll be able to warm up a bit first. Maybe the first couple of games, not too great. And as long as I can pick up a win, I think I'll be extremely pleased. If I could draw a game, that would be a start. It would take away my 100% losing record at least.
Right.
Now, the games I've played so far have been basically the starter mission or variations of that. What should I be expecting from the kind of missions that come up in these tournaments?
Well, if they're going to go, they're going to use book missions, correct? Because I know you sent me the information, and they're going to use book missions.
I believe so.
From the main rulebook. If you're gonna sit on, like certain missions. Now, I know that there's I mean, I can't stand the mission itself, but it's the mission where you have to run off the board. You basically infiltrate off the board. I mean, I really don't like that mission, but you know, it is what it is. You have the 3 A's and the Hellhounds have a 3 sprint, and it's, you know, the mission is breakthrough, which is I think the 3rd mission. So basically, you're in your deployment zone. You've got to run off the board. If you move off the board, you're going to get victory points for that. If you get the secret mission, if you're lucky enough to get the secret mission that doubles that, and you can run all your guys off the board, you know, you have 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 5 3As and 2 Hellhounds. If they run off the board, you're getting 2 victory points apiece for that. That might be a quick way to get them off the board. You know, your stage 1 is never going to run off the board, and your 2 A's are just there to cause a lot of fighting and all that stuff. But you can fight in the background, kill somebody, and then jump off the board. And those guys, you're getting 4 points, or 2 points apiece, 4 points if you get the secret mission. So you have to kind of think of, the main thing is focus on the mission, because a lot of guys want to just kill everybody. But, you know, that doesn't happen. I used to do that all the time. And then I was like, let me focus on the mission. And when you focus on the mission, you seem to do a lot better.
Yeah, that's usually not a problem with me. In the one game I did play with the Plague, I think even though I only killed maybe 1 model and lost almost everything, I was only a few victory points behind, because I was just focusing on picking up the points rather than killing things, which is lucky because I failed to kill everything anyway.
Right.
So I'm definitely going to keep that in mind. Now, one thing you mentioned there, the secret missions. What should I be expecting from them? Because I haven't played any games with them yet.
The secret missions are, there are a few where, like say the standard patrol mission is staking a claim. Objectives earn double victory points, but model kills are worth half. So, you know, on that, you want to sit on a 2-point objective, especially for 2 rounds, so that you can get 4 points each one, or even sit back, you know, and like you said, pepper the guy, but as you're sitting on the objective, so save the objectives. There's other ones like, you know, you earn double points for killing a leader, but the objectives are worth 0. So my thing, the one thing about Deadzone I have kind of an issue with is that some of the secret missions that you will roll will really go to the strength of someone else's army. So like say the Forge Fathers, or if you have a bunch of peacekeepers or very, very sturdy, stout, low saves and high armor, they'll objectives for 3 rounds without getting killed, even though you're peppering them with shots or getting into combat with them. So a double VP for sitting on an objective is really going to tailor them. But you're like, the Plague is very squishy. So, you know, Plague is built to be a horde army. You know, if he gets double VPs for killing stuff, you know, then you're in for a long time. So you have to figure out what's the thing. And also you want to make sure that whatever your secret mission is, start to play style to make it look like another secret mission. So you throw your opponent off, and then at the last second, you can start, you know, at the end of the game, maybe round 2 or round 3 or 4, start to do your secret mission and start to build up your points that way. Because I've noticed that when you're playing Deadzone, the first 2 or 3 rounds, it's kind of even. And then the 3rd and 4th round is where like there's a big switch in points, you know. That's where the meat of the game is.
I wonder if you could really throw somebody off by going like way towards what your secret mission actually is, and like point out that you're doing that, like, better take some steps towards that top secret mission of mine. Here we go. And then their head will be so fried that they'll think you couldn't possibly be going for what your real mission is because you've made it so obvious.
Right.
Maybe that could work.
You could do that. Like in 40K, I used to just measure everything and never do anything. Just keep measuring this, because you were allowed to remember the new edition, you're allowed to pre-measure. So I was just measuring everything, and guys was like, what are you measuring for? No, I'm just trying to figure stuff out. And it was during the other guy's turn. But I was just screwing around with the tape measure, and people used to get angry with that, but you know, whatever. It was just a game. So anything to throw it off. It's not against the rules, so.
Now, I've got a couple of questions specific to the Plague now, and my list in particular. What would be a nightmare matchup for me?
With these guys?
Yes.
What's nice about it, if you look at your armor, only your stage 1 and has an armor 2, and your aberration has armor 1, and then the stage 2s have armor 1. So everyone else has no armor. So if somebody has a like say the AP, like every weapon the Forge Fathers have has almost every weapon they have has an AP. So you're actually in good shape, because even though their shoot stats are low, they might be able to shoot you off the table, but their AP ammo and AP weapons are for nothing. I think you're pretty well rounded as far as combat, because between the aberrations, stage 2s and stage 1, they're your combat beasts. But the other guys are squishy, so they might, if they get into combat, you're in trouble. Nightmare matchup might be Forge Fathers and some of the Enforcers, just because of their resilience. They'll be able to, absorb through their armor all of your shots, because you have almost no you have no AP fire. You have no AP guns in this, but you do have AP melee in those guys. So you have to figure out what you want to do. The aberration's got an AP2. He might be able to tear apart a Peacekeeper, because you're reducing his armor to nothing. And then we call it you're rolling naked. So you have, you're rolling just your dice with no armor. So he's got to, you have to beat the guy's dice rolling, not relying on armor. So, but I see the Asterians you have no worry about. Rebs I don't think you'll even see. Marauders are tough, because they can hoard out too. Their basic troopers are just as good, if not better, than the stage 3s. And I don't know, Veermen, we're still working on Veermen. Veermen might be a tough matchup too, because I know when I run them with at least 8 or 9 troops, and those are tough to just constantly rolling and rolling. Then you get 1 or 2 guys in a cube with you. Then it starts to be a little tough to fight 3 guys in 1 cube.
So I'll have to hope that there's like really, really elite armies that have used an awful lot of points on AP, so that it's basically a waste of points against me. And if they kill something, well, okay, they just killed one really cheap model, and that's it.
Right. Like if they kill one of your troopers, he's only 10 points. But if you kill an Enforcer trooper or even a Forge Father troop, they're anywhere from 16 plus and 2 victory points. So you're really kind of, your guys are so cheap and victory points cheap that you're actually ahead of the game. Other than, like I said, the aberration, just, keep him hidden, be smart with him. There should be no full line of cover, which is, you know what it is though? In the old Deadzone, it was easy to keep guys in cover because you could move the whole army and not worry about it. Now it's a chess match where, alternating activation. So sometimes you kind of sleep on a guy, you forget to move him, and you don't realize that the guy's maneuvering into a position where he's going to be wide open, and that's when you get caught. So you have to be conscious at all times.
Right. Have you got any juicy tips on actually getting into combat successfully, especially with some of these big, slower models that I've got?
Hopefully you win the recon test at the beginning, and then you'll be able to roll where you can move them up. You get a free sprint action. So you'll add the aberrations get 2, stage 2s get 2. So if you can get a free sprint action, move that, use your move dice on it, re-roll some stuff. If you get a lot of shoots, re-roll those. I don't know if you're going to use the splat. How are you thinking of using the splat with the 1A?
Well, I've completely forgotten what his splat actually does right now.
He has the one where he mutates the guys.
Ah, yes. So that did come up a little bit in the one game I had with them, and it didn't seem to be especially useful.
Right. I mean, that's very, very situational. Let's say, for argument's sake, you're in a fight with your stage 2, and you roll a, what is it? Increase the AP of one range F weapon by 1. That could work. Or frenzy 1 could work. Increase your armor by 1 could work. The only thing is, like, agile, that's when you're moving, but it's, like I said, it's situational. So so for this, I would like really stress the movement and the extra dice more than anything to get those guys into combat. And even the leader, I would not really want to put him out in the open, keep him hidden. The beauty of the 1A is his survive stat is a 4+. He's tough, and he has armor 2, so he's survivable. So he's going to be around. Also, tactician 2, you're rolling 5 of your command dice as opposed to 4. So he's going to be around for a while. Like you said, all your games, he was really the last guy left. So that's good in a way that you're going to keep those command dice coming in. So really, like, you got to really utilize your command dice in your best interest. I think that's a key to the game too. A lot of people do that, and I don't like when you're playing the game. If you roll a command dice you don't need, that stinks. But you got to put it aside. But don't leave any command dice on the table. Get them out of the way quick. Because also, if you go against a frickin' Marauder player and he takes the Marauder captain and they steal your extra move, shoot, or fight, and they could use it for themselves, that's the worst. So I want to get those out of the way quickly.
So while moving up, I want to be getting the move and the extra dice options. And then when I'm actually in, presumably, I'll be looking for the extra fight if I actually get there. Because that would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got to, play those command dice, make them work for you. And also, by keeping your leader alive, you have to have 50% of your points on the table to re-roll the dice. So by having him alive and being able to re-roll what you don't like, it's a great thing. The combat dice is an awesome addition, but used correctly, it's very, very strong.
What do you think of the extra activation side of the dice for Plague? Because to me, it seems like if I've got a force that has a lot of weak troops, it doesn't seem that useful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that could be where, let's say your stage 2 is in combat with someone, and then you say, all right, I'm going to activate another guy. And then you could use a move, shoot, or fight dice on him, because that's just, you're allowed to do that. So if you activate someone else and he gets into combat, he could actually use another fight on him or another move on him, whatever you need to use on him. So, it like I said, it's situational. You start to see where you're at on the board. Like at the beginning, you might want to move everybody up, or you want to do an extra model activation so that you can move a guy into cover, because you could see the guys you could see what your opponent's doing, and he's going to maybe try to flank you or set you up for a line of fire, get him out of the way.
Now, there's one thing I haven't put into my list because it was going to be too complicated to start putting upgrades on, but someone has suggested that smoke would be a good choice for an army that's trying to move up there. Mm-hmm. How does that work?
You throw a smoke grenade down, it goes off in the cube, and you have cover through that cube. So basically it blocks line of sight. So you can't shoot out of it, but but they can't shoot you either. So that might not be a bad thing.
And that presumably that's not too expensive.
No. So for the Plague, it is smoke grenade is 3 points apiece, and it's common. So you'd be able to take a few of those. The only thing is, if they don't have a shoot stat, you can't use it. So your stage 1s and 2s can't use it. So you want to throw it into the cube, you need 1 success. So, just remember, most of your guys have a shoot stat of 6, which is kind of terrible.
Indeed.
That's why I said, that's why I really like the specialist, because even though it's a 5, your increase. I mean, I think Tim is in here. He could break down the numbers for you between a 5 and a 6 shoot stat. How much better it is. but it is a lot better. And then, like I said, weight of fire and suppression.
Now, there are a couple of things, a couple of words that pop up on the list here that I want to get some specific advice on now. So the first one would be rampage.
Yeah.
Now, we talked a little bit about this last time.
Yes.
And it can potentially be bad. So how can I avoid the potential negative effects of this?
Make sure they never get an injury, never get a wound on them. You know, if they can't get shot at, I think the worst thing is when they're getting shot at. I think as far as in combat, you know, your 2As are 4-up combat, which is nice, and your 1 in aberration are 3-up in combat. So those are really good stats for those guys. The only thing is when rampage hits you, a 1 and 2 is bad. That basically your opponent gets to control that guy for that round. A 3 and a 4, it just acts as normal. And then a 7 and an 8, the owner of the active model with the model moves. In addition, as the model is so franked that it may move 1 cube before it takes its normal actions. So that's good. So as long as you don't roll a 1 or a 2, then you're okay. But rampage is a little bit, you know, like myself in the tournament when I took the Forge Fathers and a few of my, you know, the other guys we were making lists with, we kind of avoided rampage because it's very random. You know, some bad dice rolling on an aberration and he gets 1 wound on him and you roll a 1 or a 2. You don't want the aberration against you. You want him on your side. So the only way I could say is just to hide him. You know, put them in cover and don't let anybody try to get a wound on them. You know, I mean, you could take an energy shield, but it's unique and it's 12 points. Energy shield 3, but who would you put that on? That's the big thing.
Rowan T has a suggestion, says keep them separated from your main force as well. If they do rampage, they're less likely to reach your main force.
There you go, Tim. That's good too. But, you know, that's easier said than done because, you know, if you're closing in on your opponent and you're going to be close together anyway, because you got to remember we're on a you know 2x2 square. It's a little tough to do that all the time. It's good to do that at the beginning, but you know, spread them out. But chances are you're going to be 1 or 2 cubes away from either your friend or an enemy.
So I imagine someone that's really, really good and has played this game a lot and knows exactly what they're doing would be able to see a couple of moves ahead and realize what the worst case scenario is if rampage turns sour for them. So I would imagine putting a creature with rampage on top of a really tall building might be a really bad idea because then they could just jump you off, which would be quite funny. Putting them somewhere where they could easily reach a big area of open ground that the enemy have got all their guns pointed at as well would seem unwise. And of course, being right next to any fragile troops that are actually quite valuable and you don't want killed if their own models turn around and attack them. So I think I'm in the zone thinking about it now. So I think that's the first step. Whether that actually happens in the game, we'll see. I think that would depend on the terrain layout as well.
A buddy of mine is like a grandmaster of chess, and you know, we were discussing things, and he said that a good player can see 4 or 5 moves ahead, and the better player or the masters can see 6 or 7 plays ahead. So you want to always kind of think about, you know, if I move this guy here, if I move this guy there. Now, you got to do that, and you got to be quick because, like you said, you only have an hour and 10 minutes per round, and that's with shaking the guy's hand and deploying and doing recon and stuff. So, you know, you got to try to figure out. Sometimes, you know, you try to figure it out, or you just throw caution to the wind, go rampaging in there, pun intended, and, you know, see what happens. And that might help too. Sometimes, like, you know, when I'm playing a fun game, I don't think about rules or anything, just kind of run up and stuff. And you either get shot off the table or, you know, your opponent just rolls really bad and you get into combat or you get into the full line of sight of them and you can go crazy with it too. So, but for a tournament, you know, like I said, stick to the objective, stick to the mission. That's your main thing. And then that can dictate your play style.
Now, speaking of the mission,
Yes.
I've only got 2 models here with the beast type. So
Right.
what is it that beasts can't do?
I'll read it and then we can discuss it because they're a little bit more eloquent than I am. Beast,
Surely
the
not.
model, the beast model with the beast ability cannot pick up or carry or use items. All of its weapons are either naturally been grafted on permanently by skilled biotechnicians. This ability also applies to models that are already so burdened that their normal combat load that they have no room to carry more. So basically, I don't know if you guys using items, like the crates, putting
I
them
would
around the
imagine.
table. If they do, the beast guys can't pick them up, or they can't, so basically, if a beast picks up a grenade, he can't use it.
But
Like your hellhound cannot pick up a grenade and throw it, or pick up a med pack and use it because they have the beast ability.
so would he not be able to pick up, for example, intel?
Correct.
What about just sitting on victory points? Is that okay?
Yes. Yeah. They can hold the objectives.
Right. So
Because what that was the thing I was asking the rules committee about hellhounds or zombies, is that how can they go up to an objective and download useful information? And they said that that might be one of the missions to do that, but the beast is sitting on the objective, denying you from the objective, so therefore they should get the points for that round. And that makes a lot of sense. They're not going to download information, but they are going to use, they're denying you the ability to get on that objective. So therefore they will get the points for it.
I'm fairly confident they're going to get killed before any of this stuff comes up anyway.
Well, these are your fodder guys too. They get in there, they hamper, they can get up there, move in, maybe get them into combat with somebody, and your opponent has to waste time dealing with these annoying hellhounds. And then the next thing you know, the aberration comes and bites their face off.
I'm definitely relying on the aberration to bite some faces off, because I'm not counting on that stage 1 actually reaching anyone to bite their face off. I mean, do any of the other armies have anything that slow?
Yeah, but the thing is, he's so big, he's a size 3. The Rebs have the Teratons, and they can move actually. They could sprint up to 3 with teleport. The Iron Ancestor is one of the slower ones. But yeah, he's a big load, man. I don't know why he's a 1/1. In version 1, he had slow, and he was not allowed to sprint. So they removed that, and they added the speed stat. But the fact that he moves 1/1, I think he's just so big. But I don't know why he's a size 3. And he's got a 1/1, but the aberration is a size 4, and he's got a 1/2 movement. So I think, that might be something later.
Yeah, because the aberration looks more kind of unwieldy as well with its proportions and everything. It looks like it would possibly be slower than him.
Right. But I think it's some. I don't know if the aberration is like. He reminds me of kind of like a silverback gorilla. So maybe he's quicker than a human who transformed into a plague.
Maybe. I've got a comment on that actually from Adam Johnson, who says maybe he's 1/1 because he has access to move orders now.
Well, but in the old when we used to use cards, we were able to move them up too. So, So I don't know. Don't know. I think it should be 1/2, but that's just me. I don't know. Maybe Tim can enlighten us on that.
Now, moving forward after this tournament, as I add other models into my army, where I can actually find plague models, because they're not available at the moment, so I think they're getting a big re-release at some point. Mm-hmm. But from the current plague list, what do you think would be a nice addition without overhauling completely my entire collection? What do you think would complement what I've got already?
I think a few more hellhounds, because if you're going to use hellhounds, 2 is not enough. You want to get at least 4 of them in there, 4 or 5 of them. It's good because when they swarm up, they're bad. I know Rob is in the chat, and he lost his Strider to hellhounds because there was just 4 in a cube, tearing them apart. So, you know, +1 with the buddy moving in, it helps out. And their fight is a 5-up, which is, you know, like I said, that's the average. Anything more than that is terrible. A few more HMG guys, you know, I mean, you could maybe even use your stage 3s and just say that they're all HMG guys, you know, like that. You like the aberration. I know you're probably going to get one of those. I really, really like the plague swarms. Those are the guys that are like centipedes and rats all mixed together, like from The Thing, the movie. And what I really like about them is they're a size 2. They have a 3-up fight, 5-up survive, but they're agile and they're tough. And when you get them into combat, they have an AP2 acid bite. So I really like those. I always take 2 of those when I run the plague because they're really good. And the Teraton, I'm on the fence with. I've never had luck with the plague Teraton. Although, like the regular Teraton, now that teleport is a short action, you can always move up 2. So he has no shoot stat. He can't shoot anything. So when he sprints, he's sprinting at 3. That's pretty good. And the Teraton actually moves through walls. So if you're hiding behind a wall and the Teraton's there, they will teleport through the wall. That might be a nice little addition.
I've heard good things about the plague Teraton.
Yeah. Well, in the new edition now, the Teratons in general in my opinion, got a nice bump up. That teleport is a short action. And also the regular Teratons with the Rebels, their shooting is better because they have the one use thing. So instead of using the shoot stat, you just use a 4-up, and that's better for them. So, you know, I think in this edition, Teratons are, they got the nod.
Now, I've actually had an idea for something I could do for this force, because I told you a while ago that I found a huge bag of Rebs and a ton of Zs just in the drawer, and there's no way I could use all those Zs in any reasonable sized game because I've got so many of them. I've got,
right. But I did send you that list, right?
Yes, but I had quite a few Zs in it, but I've got probably 3 times that number. So I'm thinking I could actually make them into Z zombies.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
That might not be bad. You know, zombies are cool too. So basically, hellhounds and zombies are your fodder, and they're so cheap. You know, the thing about zombies, they have changed. You know, in the FAQ, their save is a 6 now, and they don't have the tough ability anymore. So they're a little bit less survivable than they were in before the FAQ came out. But for 6 points, they still have a 2 sprint, and they are 0 victory points. Now, depending on the mission, you can get a secret mission that makes every kill 1 victory point. But 6 points, 0 victory points. They are so annoying. You know, you can kill 5 or 6 of them and not get 1 point for it. And you have to deal with them because with the horde ability, you know that when you move into a cube and you have a friend there, you get a +1 dice, correct? If you have 4 friends in there, you would get a +1 dice. The zombies have the horde ability. So if there's 4 zombies and 1 zombie's attacking and they're in the same cube, you would get an extra 3 dice because the horde ability gives you +1 per friendly model in that cube with the horde ability. So you want to put 3 or 4 guys biting other people's faces off. So now you're rolling anywhere from 2 to 3 extra dice. That's pretty nice. And they have a 5-up fight stat. So, you know, they're pretty good, and 0 victory points. It's just terrible when you kill 5 or 6 of them and you get nothing. You get absolutely nothing for it. It's they're not hard to kill, but if you don't kill them, they're gonna cause a lot of damage.
Well, this tournament has a cap on 6 zombies is the most you can take. Is that a common thing that people are doing?
That's the first I'm hearing of it. In general, I don't like restrictions because, you know, if you're bringing a lot of zombies or whatever, then I should have something to compensate for that. So I should bring, some kind of weapon that has a blast ability to smack them around, or maybe set them on fire, or maybe I'll take 2 or 3 grenades. So at the beginning of the game, if you want to hoard them up in a cube, that's fine, but I'm going to throw a grenade at them, and they have a 6-up survive, so there's a good chance of me killing them. So I'm not too crazy about that. I mean, maybe the requirement should be that, you have to have 2 or 3 classifications of troops instead of taking all zombies, because you could take 8 zombies, and then you could take 8 specialists with it. That's the rule, one for one. So, I don't know. I don't like when they put restrictions on the game. I rather, just let's play the game.
Well, the audience are firmly behind this zombie monkey idea. Rowan T says stage 3 Z's would be the name for them. I suppose stage Z's would work as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think
or apocalypse. If you run a lot of them, it could be like apocalypse Z's.
Rob Harper says that you hate the Z's.
I hate the Z's.
Well, I think I'm going to have to get at least 5 of them.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be a little bit of conversion work going in there to make them a bit more zombie-like.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's going to be too difficult.
Well, from what in our conversation, you have enough to make a zombie horde, a Dreadbolt team, a second string Dreadbolt team, and then the Rebs team and Z zombies also. So I think you have enough to do it to your heart's content.
I believe I do. Rob Harper says World War Z's.
World War Z's. See. Thanks, Rob. That's what I was trying to say.
See,
I
think it might be too late to get this into Mantic's upcoming releases, but zombie monkeys.
Well, we could talk to Tim about zombie monkeys. Hey, listen. You know what? They don't even have to release Z zombies. We just model them up. That's the whole point of the hobby.
Well, I'm definitely going to get on that because that sounds quite exciting. And
yeah,
it'll get me some zombies in there as well.
Sounds like a 2D6 approved strategy.
Yes. Now, another thing that I'm looking at on my list here, the size of various units. For example, the aberration size 4. Now, how many size pieces basically can you fit into a cube?
It's 4. We've been calling them pips just for the hell of it. So now, if the aberration's in a cube by himself, he can only be there by himself. So let's say you have let's say stage 3 is fighting a guy. The aberration can't move into that cube because you already have 1 pip in there, and he takes up 4. So he's a one-on-one combat guy.
Right. So it's 4 from each side. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
8 altogether, but 4 from a side.
So he can't share a cube with anybody, and he has rampage. So he seems like the perfect candidate for kind of not being around the rest of the force, doesn't he?
Right. But now the FAQ came out, and let's say you have 4 size guys in a cube, and the aberration gets rampage. He's actually allowed to go into that cube and cause havoc. That's the only time you can have more than that. But when the round comes around to him again and he gets to move, your first movement has got to be moving out of that cube, because he's got to get back into a cube with only for himself to be by himself in a cube of 4 pips.
That does make sense.
Yeah. So, by the rules before the FAQ, you just hoard up 4 guys or 4 pips in it, and you couldn't move in there to kill your own guys. But they wrote the rule against that, which was actually it's good, but it could work against you in a bad way.
Right. So what is?
And Andy, I'm sorry. And on Rampage, if your opponent has Rampage, they can't add any extra dice, or they can't add like an extra fight to it. So they're only rolling what they roll. No modifications to any dice.
That's still quite nasty if it's the aberration.
Yes.
So I'm sure there's a lot of cheese out there that people have uncovered as they've been list building. What's the one ultra cheese thing that I'm guaranteed to see at this tournament? I might not actually come up against it, because if I lose the first game and they steamroll everyone, I just might never meet them. But what am I likely to see if I'm doing reasonably well?
You know what? It's Deadzone. The beauty of Deadzone is that they've taken a page out of Kings of War, and I know you're a big Kings of War guy, and you could take whatever you're going to take, and it's very balanced. Now, you could take an army of, let's say, 12 Hellhounds, and that's kind of cheesy because you're going with the numbers as far as that. I don't know what's out there. I think the cheese is the elite lists are not as good as, let's say, multiple guys. When you start to take 5 guys that have a lot of stuff on them, you still have to dice roll against them. So you're taking, over 12 guys here, and against a force with 5 guys in it, it's almost impossible for them to keep up. Now, Forge Fathers or Enforcers, you're definitely going to see Enforcers and Forge Fathers. It's just I can't see you not coming against them. I think low model count is really not good. I think you got to really take a lot of guys, and now you guys are playing 200 points, which is it warms my heart to hear that. More guys, more boys, less toys. That's what I think is the way to go here. So, but everything is very balanced. There are some units that are terrible, but you'll never see them. That's the thing. As far as a cheese, like an auto win or net list, I don't see it. I don't see it because Deadzone's gotten to a point where the leaders and the builds speak for themselves. Some leaders work better with certain units, and you build accordingly. But I can't see something popping out saying it's really, really good.
Right, and finally, before we start wrapping this up, because I do have to get up quite early in the morning just to travel to this tournament, so we're going to have a quick look over at the old Dreadball Kickstarter and see how that's doing, because there's only, let's see, 9 days left to go on that. It's obviously past its funding goal. And have you played much Dreadball?
Yes, I have about 9 teams.
Right. So obviously not quite as much of an expert as I am, since I played the Z's, which automatically makes me a Dreadball genius.
Right.
So what do you think of the Dreadball Kickstarter then?
It looks good. I like what they're doing, but I think this is the slowest Mantic Kickstarter that they've had. I think they thought it was going to be a lot bigger numbers, but I think the main thing for this is they're overhauling the rules. And I haven't taken a look at it. I know there's it's out there somewhere saying that the rules are there, but anytime Mantic does a Kickstarter for whatever your pledge is, you always go above and beyond. I know for myself with the Deadzone Kickstarter, when I got all the stuff, we got loads and loads of stuff. I mean, between the Pathfinders and all the Veermen I got, it was definitely worth it. And then all the scenery and all that stuff. So you're gonna get a big bang for your buck. Even if you do the $45 one, you're getting all new rules. And what's great about it is you get all the hard copy rules and all the PDF rules. So it's pretty cool. They've always done really good Kickstarters.
The one thing that's struck me about it is that possibly, maybe one reason it's not going that crazy, maybe they haven't changed that much. It seems more of a subtle change, like the second edition of Kings of War was, where they didn't really reinvent the wheel or anything. They just really made a few little minor changes, and which is very different from what Deadzone went through, obviously, where the new edition has a vast number of changes.
Right.
This seems to be much more subtle, and then a couple of more teams, which I'm not sure that was really necessary, but obviously they had to. If you're going to have a new release, you've got to throw some new models in there, but there are a lot of teams already. You're
not going to, I mean, it makes sense that they're a miniature company, and if you're going to do a Kickstarter, you're going to get some new models.
Yes,
but it seems like these two the Yindage and the robots that are coming out are the like the new teams in this new starter set, because I remember in the original one was the orcs and the Trontech, which is enforcer armored guys. So those were the original starters. So I guess maybe these guys are the new starters. Maybe they're the new hotness. I mean, the models look great. I think they look great. I like that they're doing the rubber pitches, the matte pitches, and they made the hexes bigger. So, you have a little bit more room to play. They were a little more congested before. And I like the fact that the ball fits on the base. What we did was we just magnetized the ball and we used the magnetic paint on the bases. So we just stick it to it that way. But, yeah, there's the new bases.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good move, especially if it's a bit crowded and the ball slides off someone's base and you forget where it was supposed to be. So, yeah, I'm a fan of that change.
Yeah. I mean, I just magnetized them, so, we did it that way. But that's pretty cool. And then they're coming out with those guys, the commentators and the ref bot. The eye in the sky is your counter. So,
yes, there's one thing that they haven't changed, which I suspected might be something they would look at. Because obviously with Deadzone, they did away with cards and added in the command dice. And I was thinking maybe Dreadball would go down a similar path and get rid of the cards and the coaching dice and kind of merge those into new dice with splats on and everything. But they've obviously not gone that way. They obviously feel that the system they had in place works or is workable with tweaks, whereas they felt the Deadzone, it needed that change.
That it might change, because Deadzone originally, when the Kickstarter came out, was it said you'll get all the cards and dice and everything you need, and then there was the switch to the command dice. So this might be things are still in the works.
It's entirely possible. And now with the ultimate pitch being on the back as well, I think that's a nice touch.
Yeah, so now you're getting 2 games in 1.
Now, it wasn't here at the start, but they have just put this in there. The Jack pledge level, where you just get the items that you need to upgrade your previous edition, where you don't really need a pitch unless you're desperate to get the new one. You've already got models, so it's just the rules and the new stuff, the new cards, because there will be changes to them, I imagine.
Right. So that's the one. That's the one. If you've already invested in Dreadball, like I have the original game and I have a bunch of teams that I like, and let's say I don't want to get the new teams, I don't fancy them. You just get this, you upgrade it, you get the counters and the rule books and the new cards that you need, and you take it from there.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing an entire episode of the show at some point on the new Dreadball, but it doesn't seem like there's enough to talk about to fill an entire show, because the changes aren't really that evident. They've said there are going to be changes to the rules, but obviously they're not all revealed right now.
Well, with Deadzone, what the beauty of Deadzone is that the game was a really good game, but there was, say, about 30% of the game was a little snarky and things that were catching people up. And so they said, let's take the flavor of those things and make them easier. So take out the cards, make the command dice, or when you falling damage or it burns and stuff, just solidify the rules so that it makes it easier to follow. And I think in Dreadball, they're doing the same thing. So to make it a little quicker, a little easier to figure out.
Hopefully they don't completely invalidate my How to Play Dreadball series, though.
Yeah, but that just comes up with a new series, an addendum series to it.
Yep, I may have to do that. So it's about time to wrap this one up, I think. Thanks for giving me all those wonderful tips that are going to lead me to a series of 6 straight wins and a first tournament win overall.
Grand champion. Absolutely.
Guaranteed. And of course, nailed on for Best Painted Award as well, surely.
That would be sweet. So you're going to give us updates all day as you go through on the Andy 2D6?
Well, I may tweet out updates. The worse I'm doing, the more I may tweet, because I won't be paying that much attention to the game if it's going really terribly. So
Focus, man. You got to focus. Try not to be Andy, the crazy Andy. Try to be the tournament focused.
The beast.
Right. I'll coach you up, Andy. You are a very good player, and I want you to be successful. So I need you to focus. I need you to stop making jokes and get in there and win. If you do that, you will be very successful. But you're not going to have as much fun because that's not you.
It's possible. We'll see. If I win 5 games in a row and I'm on the top table at the end, then someone may see the serious me, but that hasn't come up too much yet.
Right.
Now, let's see if they've had any last-minute questions coming in. Doesn't look like it. So thanks to the audience for joining us, especially those of you that were here all the way through. There were quite a few. Yeah. A few chatting away in there.
You got some good guys in there. You know, Rob Harper is one of the he's on the Deadzone podcast, and we just started a monthly series where we take a list, we take a faction, and we each write a list, and we tear it apart and dissect it and go through it, and it's the team building exercise, and it was a blast to do. And this month we did Rebs. Next month we're doing Asterians. And it's just going to be a monthly series of, figuring things out. And hopefully we'll go over the supplement for Deadzone. And then when that's done, hopefully the new supplement will come out. And we just keep analyzing lists and figuring it out. So unfortunately we didn't do Plague. That would have helped you, but
yeah, there's always time for the future. Now, there's all that stuff that you've been doing. It's podcast form, but also popping up on your YouTube channel as well. Is that right?
Yeah. So what we're doing is, since we do the podcast, and Rob contacted me and said, "Why don't we just put it up on Family Gamers also?" So maybe guys that we're trying to get Deadzone out there. That's why we started WGC Deadzone, and so let's say someone who watches the channel says, "Oh, I heard the podcast. Let me check out the podcast when I drive to work." And then maybe somebody who listens to the podcast can say, "Oh, I'd like to see some battle reports or some tactic videos." And, we're just trying to spread the word. So, a little cross promotion there to get more people involved.
And that's what we need. Yeah. So after the tournament, depending how many pictures I get to take, how intense the games are and everything, that'll probably determine whether I actually make a full video on it or whether I just show some images and discuss it in a little less detail on this show next week. But time will tell. Depends how it goes. I want
that picture of you holding the cup up, or you in the corner crying hysterically, either one.
Or both at the same time.
Both at the same time, yes.
Okay, so thanks everybody, especially the people that just wished me luck in the comments there, because I think I'm going to need a lot of it, especially with my D8 rolling history. So let's have a final look at this beautiful image here. As you can tell, it sums up our physiques and personalities quite well, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I like that I'm at a lower body fat percentage, I like that.
Yeah, that's not a bad look, is it?
No.
So, good night out there, everybody. And don't forget to check all those links in the description and like the video and all that good stuff. Good night.